I told you we'd be right back after a short break, and I always keep my promises. Right now, we're here with Seth from Quartermaster Logistics, and Seth, Logistics.
Logistics.
I said it wrong. I don't see any games on the table. What are we going to be talking about here?
Well, we want to let people know a little bit about how they get their games to them for
Seth,
Kickstarters.
How do I get my games for Kickstarter?
So that's what we do.
Oh, okay.
We specialize in working with publishers to take people's games from the manufacturer and get them all around the world, basically.
So when I have a problem, I come to you to complain? Is that what we're telling everybody out there? It's like, where's my game? Go to Seth. So what's your email?
So do you work with a bunch of different warehouses and fulfillment centers, or is it all centralized?
We work with a bunch of different partners around the world. We have our own here in Orlando in the U.S. that we send out all the U.S. shipment from, but we also have partners in Canada, in Europe, in Asia, and in Australia.
Okay, so are your customers for QML, are your customers the customers who have purchased the product, or the people running the Kickstarters?
Primarily the people running the Kickstarters.
Okay.
But we do work with people who have purchased the product sometimes, because after shipments have gone out and shipping notifications have gone out, sometimes they're like, where's my stuff? I don't. Okay. Tracking seems to be funny, or it says it was delivered, so we have some of that on the back end as well, where we do deal directly with customers.
Okay, okay. So, if I'm running a Kickstarter,
yep.
So is it something where I would want to get in contact with your company before I even launch my campaign, or is it more like after it's done and now it's like, oh my goodness, I got to figure out, I'm having trouble doing my fulfillment, I would come to you, or how do you work into the whole Kickstarter process?
We definitely recommend that people contact us well before they launch their campaign, because if you don't have your shipping prices set, that can sink a campaign. Yep. We've seen companies basically go down and not be able to continue on after not getting that all taken care of correctly up front. So it is hugely important to figure out all those logistics on the front end of things.
Okay. And how do you do that? I mean, do you work with them and say, you know, how big is the container going to be? How much is it going to weigh? I mean, they have to have, I guess they at that point had to have a really good idea of what the final product's going to come out.
Absolutely. So for customers that are a little bit more experienced and they've done a lot of campaigns before, they'll have a better idea of like, well, we anticipate we're going to have this many backers, like 5,000 backers, and it'll be spread out through these regions, and here's the game size. And so we can get a really good kind of detailed estimate based off of the number of games and what regions they're going to. And it's a lot of weight and volume, honestly. That's a lot of what it boils down to figure out those costs and help them figure that out. For new customers, there's a little bit more guesswork involved, and we work with them on that too. We'll work with them and take the best numbers they have to put together an overall idea of what it's going to cost them to take it from the manufacturer all the way to their backers, including all of that after fulfillment stuff where, oh, I got a ding and dent. How do I get this fixed? You know.
So yeah, I was going to ask if you end up doing like customer support at all, following up after that, kind of leading down the food chain, down the timeline of fulfillment. And that's kind of the next thing with the ding and dents. So do you then make yourself available to the customers to contact, or do they still go through the company running the Kickstarter who then come to you to take care of that?
It depends on the individual company,
okay.
But we do offer customer support and customer service afterwards. Okay. And that one, I can give the email on that one. That's shipping@qmlogistics.com. Okay. Really simple. It goes out to all of our backers, or all the backers that we send goods to, and they just email that, and we'll do the best we can to take care of it. If there comes to an issue where we have to talk to the publisher, we will, but we work with them to get the games in the right condition to the backers.
Okay.
Do you work with a lot of different size publishers? I mean, small, very large.
You took my question.
I just wanted to jump in.
Sure, we do. We've been working with Seventh Continent, so we fulfilled that. So very
that
big.
was a big one.
That was a big one.
Yeah. That game's a beast.
They still have Wave 2 coming up later on in the fall as well. And we work with a lot of smaller publishers as well. We recently fulfilled Into the Trail.
Okay.
Which is
a
little bit of a smaller game, but so any size in that range, we're happy to work with and make sure those campaigns get fulfilled well.
So I guess you have to work with fulfilling all these things worldwide. Like Seventh Continent, for example, is like all over the place.
Yep.
Oh, every continent.
All 7 of them.
Yeah.
All 7 of them.
Including Australia. What's the biggest challenge that you face, in doing the fulfillment process?
Yeah, so logistics itself can just be thorny sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have shipments set up as best as we can, and a ship gets delayed, and so maybe a couple of containers from different projects are arriving at the same time, and we're having to work with staffing up a little bit to make sure everything gets out a little more quickly. There are lots of unexpected things that tend to happen. That can be outside of our control, even when we've helped set up those like freight shipments and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean you got to deal with weather all over the place,
absolutely.
and the human elements that can be introduced.
Yep.
Wow.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the biggest thing that I would probably emphasize to backers in this is I know how much they want the game, and we do our best through like social media and stuff like that to keep people updated on where stuff is, but the key is patience, because there are just some things that are completely out of our control. And I know telling an excited gamer to be patient when the game is like on the ship, ready to come to them, is like, well, forget it, because I'm a gamer too. Of course I want that. I want to play the new hot thing. But
it's funny, on the ship, it's like, but if you've been in this long enough, on the ship means nothing.
Yeah,
Because it may just sit out there, a port from strikes and all this stuff.
1 to 6 months, it'll be mine.
That's right.
We've literally had that in regions too, where strikes have...
Yeah, I remember that last year or 2 years ago. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was affecting everybody. How many Kickstarter fulfillments do you do per year on average?
Oh goodness, per year. So I'll give you a monthly average right now.
Oh, okay.
We're probably anywhere between 10 to 20 in a month. So multiply that out over a year.
Okay, that's a lot.
It's busy. It's busy.
Yeah.
Is it consistent, or is there seasonal spikes?
Oh, there's totally seasonal spikes. So there's this little thing called Chinese New Year.
Oh no! Oh yeah. Month of February, you're done. Just forget about it. We'll see you in March.
So there's a ton of stuff that gets sent out before Chinese New Year, and then a ton of stuff after, and then before Christmas, because every publisher wants to try and get their game out before Christmas or before Gen Con. So it definitely comes in waves, where there are seasons where it's crazy busy, and then January, February, it's a little slower sometimes. So
that's cool. Yeah, but it kind of evens out. Overall, you can get the average.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for all those people who maybe want to have a Kickstarter and get their game published and want to have it shipped and everything, and they want to possibly use your services, how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Well, we have an email, info@qmlogistics.com.
Info@qmlogistics.
Yep. So Quartermaster, but qmlogistics.com. So, send an email out to there, and one of our team members will definitely work right with you and help you guys get everything you need to understand worldwide fulfillment from factory to door.
Oh boy, logistic fulfillment. You've been reading my diary. No, it is a process that requires a lot of attention and communication.
Yes.
And
yes,
I'm really impressed with anyone who can take that on. It's really impressive. I guess the last question I would have is just, can you think of the strangest thing you've had to actually fulfill and ship out and take care of?
The strangest. Well, we've been primarily in the board game industry so far. So I think one of the most interesting, was a little more recent, it's called the Everlasting Wet Palette. And it's for miniatures painters.
Oh, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I know about this.
You know about this
I
one.
was looking into this because I paint miniatures.
So for miniatures painters, and it, supposedly as per its name, it never goes dry. So that had a lot of different kind of like foam objects, and there was a lot of kind of weird stuff that we had to figure out in terms of packing that one. But I mean, a lot of it's, other than that, it's just standard board games. Occasionally we get something with a huge long play mat that we're like, okay, how are we fitting this in that box?
Right.
But
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So some things you have to keep their environmental controls set too as well. Wow, another layer of it to keep in mind.
There you go.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Seth.
Absolutely.
And I hope that this kind of helps shed some light onto some of the things that go on behind the scenes after you place your order for a Kickstarter.
Yeah, and if you're interested in possibly getting your game, getting the game published and going through Kickstarter, have somebody help you with logistics, you can contact Quartermaster Logistics. You can go to info@QM Logistics. And remember, if there's ever any Kickstarter that you feel like you never get on time, just contact Seth, whether they did it or not.
And when you remember this conversation, remember it was Marty.
I will.
Not me.
Seth, thank you once again so
Absolutely.
much for coming on. And
Thank you,
Chaz
guys.
and I are going to take a 2-hour break, and we're going to be back at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time with Bezier Games. But during that time, don't forget to send
In the
tweets.
hashtag, because when we come back with Bezier, we're going to be doing some more games this afternoon. We have an interview with Eric Lang and Rob Davio, and we're going to be joined at the end of the day by Jamie Keggy from the Secret Cabal for an extra special activity that we're going to be doing together.
That's right.
That we may regret immediately afterwards.
I will totally regret this.
Yeah, so make sure to join us for the rest of this afternoon. And in the meantime, keep the hashtag coming to get you entered in the contests that we're running throughout the day, and also just to have your questions piled up that we'll be answering later. In the meantime, take care, and we'll talk to you again in about 2 hours.